Isaiah 54, when you have found it, say, I got it. Because there are 17 verses, I won't read the entirety of the chapter, but I will lay anchor on the passage that you all are most familiar with. Verse 17, no weapon that is formed against thee, a prophetic word, shall prosper. See, church folk don't know when to get excited. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall arise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. Everybody say servant. And their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. Please underline the word servant and righteousness, because Isaiah ends this chapter by saying that these promises that God told Isaiah to write on the pages of his holy writ, that these verses extend beyond Israel and indeed encompasses each of us who call ourselves a servant. He says this is the heritage of the servant of God, and the righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So if in fact you are his servant, and if in fact you are doing the best you can to live a righteous life, and notice I didn't say to live perfect, because nobody is perfect. But there are some people in the building who have made it up in their mind that they're going to do the best they can to live according to the word of God. Galatians 5:16 says, walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. So these promises that God present here in chapter 54 of Isaiah, we can claim them because we are servants of the Most High God. Isaiah is one of the four major prophets. Because y'all quiet, I can take my time and preach to myself. He's one of the four major prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, and Ezekiel. And the interesting thing about Isaiah's prophesying is that it expanded about 50 years. And God allowed Isaiah to take a panoramic view of humanity, a panoramic view of the Jewish nation and the church as it related not only to Israel, but to you and I, and to the coming of the Messiah. Isaiah writes about Israel's rebellion against God. Isaiah writes about God allowing Israel to be taken captive in Babylon. Isaiah writes about Israel being delivered from Babylon and allowed to come back to Zion and rebuild Jerusalem. Isaiah writes because God allows him to see the coming suffering servant, our Lord Jesus the Christ, hanging on the cross, dying for the sins of the world. Isaiah even sees Jesus return. Isaiah even was able to see and write about the millennial reign. Isaiah, God allows him to take a panoramic view and to talk to us about the ages of Judaism, the ages of Christianity, the ages of church, and the ages of you and I. So when you read Isaiah 54, most theologians don't agree as to exactly who he's talking to, when he's talking to him, and the conditions that he is talking. But one thing they do agree is that the promises of God are yes and amen. I ought to have about 5 of y'all here that understand that if God promises it, he's not a man that he should lie, that he's not slack concerned. So we're not going to deal today as we would normally do with the historical context, with the timeline context. I just want to look at Isaiah 54 and pull out a few tidbits and pull out a few principles and pull out a few promises, because God is a God of promise. And if you learn the promises of God, I declare to you today, your life will get better. Because God is a God of promises. So the first thing I want to extrapolate from the text, as preaching is real easy today, it's so easy today, Marcus, you can do it. The first thing that God promises the reader and promises us in the text is he promises us production. Everybody shout production. God promises production from that which was previously unproductive. God says that which is dead, I'm going to produce life. God says that which is lack, I'm going to produce overflow. God says the first thing I'm promising Isaiah, I want you to tell them is that I will give whoever he's talking about, whether it's Israel, whether it's the church, whether it's us, whomever he's talking about, he says, I will promise you will be productive. Look at verse 1. Sing, O barren, that thou didst not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. What does he say? For more of the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord. Pastor, make that make sense. What he is doing here, Deacon Holloway and Dr. Holloway, he is comparing the crowd, the people he's talking to, you and I, Israel, the church. He's saying that you all have been unproductive. As a matter of fact, you've been so unproductive, I'm going to use a metaphor. I'm going to use an illustration. I'm going to compare you with a woman whose womb is unproductive. I'm comparing you to Sarah, Abraham's wife, and comparing her with Hagar, Abraham's side chick. You already know Abraham had a side chick. You know the story back in Genesis 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, when God told Abraham, you're going to have a child. Abraham was about 90. Wife was about close to 80, 80 or 90. And the Bible says that Sarah was beyond childbearing age. God says unto her and her husband, you will bear a son. She's barren, and Abraham and Sarah try to get ahead of God and do God a favor. So the wise and said, Sarah says unto Abraham, I can't give you a child. My womb is closed up. I tell you what you do. Why don't you go and make a baby with the slave girl Hagar? I ought to have about 5 of y'all in the building that know God doesn't need your help. That all you got to do is learn how to wait on the Lord. Didn't the record say that they that wait upon the Lord shall renew his strength. He shall mount up with wings of an eagle, walking and not be weary, to run and not faint. But they got ahead of God. and birthed Ishmael. And then when there was about 99 and 100, God said, okay, God opens up the womb. Look at what he says here. Oh, sing, O barren, that thou didst not bear. Sarah, you didn't bear a child. Break forth in singing and cry loud, and thou didst travail. But far more are the children of Sarah than the children of Ishmael's mama, Hagar, saith the Lord. God promises her productivity. And the productivity was that her fruitless womb would now bear fruit. Preach Betty Brown's oldest boy. And in other words, God is saying unto Israel, God is saying unto the church, God is saying unto you, that I have a miracle with your name on it. Boy, I wish I had about 25 of y'all who will admit I need a miracle. Because what I'm going through right now is barren. It's barren. It's dark. It's bleak. It's unproductive. But I'm not talking about my womb. I'm talking about my life. I should have been bearing more fruit by now. I thought I would have been long ago or further ahead by now. I thought I would have been out of debt by now. I thought I would have been married by now. I thought I would have been a millionaire by now. I thought I would have had the promotion by now. I thought that my skin would have cleared up by now. I thought my credit score would have come up by now. I thought that my children would have straightened up and fly right back. I thought that I would have gotten sick. That I would have gotten well by now. We have been barren, and God sent me by here to tell about 25 and a half of y'all that a miracle with your name on it is on your way. I wish I had about 10 people that are looking for a miracle that would just throw your hands up and say, he preaching about me, because I need a miracle. I need y'all to see something about miracles, because there are some denominations that have y'all messed up. They make you think everything got to be a miracle. But I stopped by to tell you everything is not miraculous. There are certain things that you just gonna get in the natural, and when your natural can't help you, that's when God adds his super to your natural and it gets supernatural. But please understand me, if God is going to give you a miracle, there are some things you got to do. Check this out, Sister Edward. Check this out. Check this out, Deacon. Check this out. Check this out. God promised Abraham and Sarah a child. But God did not give them a child. God opened the womb so that they could produce a child. If Abraham and Sarah had not come together and the sperm met the egg and formed the zygote then produced an embryo, and then the embryo produced a baby. If they had never come together, there never would have been Isaac. I wish I had somebody here to understand you got to do your part. Would you just hunt somebody and say, just do your part? You have a responsibility in God working your miracle. You remember when Jesus got Lazarus from the dead? After he called him, he said, now y'all roll away the stone and loose him and let him go. The problem with some of you all is y'all want God to do everything. God says, I'm going to open up some doors, but you got to go through the door. I'm going to lay it on some bankers hard to give you the loan, but you got to go get the loan. I'm going to give you, anybody in here have ever gotten a miracle, has ever gotten a miracle from God, and it wasn't the baby, God just opened up the womb? I remember Evangelist, when I was matriculating at Troy University, getting a master's degree in counseling, and it was a miracle that I graduated with about a 3.9 GPA. Now, and when I walk across the stage to get my master's degree, I gave God the credit, but God didn't give me the master's. Let me tell you where the miracle was. The miracle was when I passed statistics. The miracle was when I passed Economics 101. God didn't give me the degree, but along the way, God worked miracles in my life so that I could walk across stage, and then I can look back and say the miracle was when I passed Economics. The miracle was when I passed statistics. The miracle was along the way. God says, I have a miracle with your name on, and I'm still in verse 1 on the production, and he says there are two things. Hey, I'm preaching, Ben, y'all talking. There are two things, Penny, little Penny. There are two things, Deacon, there are two things, right? There are two things, he says, I want you to do while you are waiting on the miracle. Check out the text. He says, number one, I want you to praise. Pastor make it make plain. He says, sing, O barren one. Bring out forth singing and cry that thou didst not travail. He was with child. He said, first thing I want you to do is praise me. And you got to learn how, oh my God, to praise him in advance. You got to learn how to praise him before you get the victory. The reason some of y'all won't get the victory because you won't praise him while you are waiting on the miracle. Your philosophy is I ain't going to believe nothing unless I see it. God said I ain't going to move until you move without seeing it. God said, praise me, pray. God said, get you a song down in your sanctified bosom. Every child of God, Sister Witt, ought to have a song. Our scriptures are better and the word is better, but everybody ought to have a song. A go-to song that when you down and you out and you feeling all depressed and like God doesn't care, you ought to have a go-to song. I don't know what yours is, but my all-time favorite is I Won't Complain. I've had some good days and I've had some bad days, but when I look around and I think things over, I realize that all of my good days have outweighed my bad days. So I've concluded and made it up in my mind, so that I will not complain. I don't know what your song is. Maybe your go-to song is Pass Me Not, Oh Gentle Savior. Maybe your go-to song is Never Would Have Made It. Maybe your go-to song is Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Maybe your go-to song is Your Goodness is Running After Me. But every child of God ought to have a go-to song. Remember David said, he writes of Israel in bondage, and Israel said, they asked us to sing one of those Zion songs. And David said, and Israel said, how can we sing Zion songs when we're in a strange land? I wish I had been there, Mr. Love. I wish I had been there, Miss Cannon. I would have told them, Israel, you better sing. Because if there's ever time you ought to sing your song, it's when the hellhounds are all around you. It's when life has bagged you up in a corner. You can't go left, you can't go right, and you really don't feel like going down. You lift up your eyes toward heaven and you sing. You sing your song. He says, number one, I want you to praise. Y'all got that? If you're gonna be productive, number one, praise him. Shout before the wall comes down. Number two, he says, make preparations for the miracle. Pastor Mark says, see that, notice what he said in verse number 2. Enlarge your house, because we in tents, we in houses. Let them stretch forth curtains of thy house. Spare not. Add more rooms to your house. Why? Because thou shalt break, verse 3, thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left. And thy seed shall inherit the Gentile. Obviously, he's talking about the Gentile. I mean, the Jewish nation and how you're going to incorporate everybody into the church. But God sent me by here to tell you, prepare for your production. Pastor, make it make sense, make it make plain. Be like the woman who's pregnant. She doesn't wait till the baby gets here to pick out clothes. She doesn't wait till the baby gets here to prepare the room. She doesn't wait till the baby gets here to buy this and that. He's saying, if you really believe that I'm going to give you productivity. Check this out. Prepare. Somebody shout prepare. Pastor, make that make sense in everyday English. Here's what I want you to do. If he's going to give you production on your job, I need you to go out and get some different kind of clothes. And then when your friend asks you, why are you dressing like this? Tell them I'm on my way to the corporate world. And I can't dress the old way because God has a, they're going to look and say, you? Say, yeah, you. And they're going to say, that's going to be a miracle. You say, yeah, God is still in the miracle working business. I'm trying not to preach here. Is there anybody here that knows God still work miracles? I need about 5 people to throw your left hand in the air. And that simply says to everybody, God still work miracles. And he has a miracle with my name on it. Is there anybody here that looking, that's praising God in advance for your miracle? Don't fool me now. If you still believe in miracles, and if you still believe that God did not stop doing miracles when he healed the sick, when he raised the dead, when he gave the blind that their sight. Is there anybody in the building that still believe in miracles? If you're not too mean and you're not too low down, would you grab your neighbor's hand and look your neighbor straight in the eye? Say, neighbor, I still believe that God still work miracles, because there is a miracle with my name on it. Now drop that neighbor's hand, and if you're not too cold and you really want a miracle, would you get on your feet and praise God in advance? Would you tell somebody, I will bless the Lord at all times? Tell somebody, neighbor, I got a miracle with my name on it. Ah, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Now give God a shout for your miracle. Give God a shout for your... Hunt somebody and say, I'm going to get mine. Hunt somebody and say, I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get mine. Y'all sit down. Y'all sit down. Now I need about 10 people who really looking for a miracle to just jump up on your feet and go shake two people's hand and said, I'm going to get mine. I'm going to get mine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. Go grab somebody's hand and say, I got to get mine. I got. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Can I ask you a question? What's your name? I didn't hear y'all. What's your name? Okay, some of y'all don't even know your name. What's your name? Can I help you? There's a miracle with your name on it. I'm sorry, y'all. I believe y'all need to give him a thank you praise. I believe you need to get back on your feet and give him a thank you praise. Lord, thank you for my miracle. Lord, thank you, you're turning things around. Lord, thank you, you're healing my body. Lord, thank you, you're regulating my mind. Lord, thank you, you're sending my children back. Lord, thank you, I'm coming back to church. Lord, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Y'all sit down. Let me get back. I'm still on the production. He says it's going to be a what? Everybody say miracle. He said it's going to be a miracle, but you must prepare. Here's what I want you young folk to do. Get your pants off your behind. And when your buddies say, why you dressing like that? Tell them, say, because I'm preparing for something better than this. What I want you to do, he wants you to dress your English up. Get you a few adverbs. Get you a few adverbs. He's walking slowly. He's moving mellifluously. And then when they ask you why you trying to sound white, you said, because I'm going to corporate America and I got to change my... Come on, you professionals, you know your professional voice. Come on. You got your professional voice. Oh, and my wife is the worst. Oh, her professional voice is, hello. I am Tanya Brown, and I am calling. I said, baby, what you know? She said, that's my profession. If you're going to be a professional, you need a what? Okay, y'all ain't talking. If you are going to be a professional, you need a married folk. I want you to prepare. I want you to stop fussing, stop cussing. Stop tripping. And then when your wife asks you, say, oh, you ain't got nothing to say? I ain't got nothing to say. Why? Because I'm preparing for something better. I ain't say I'm preparing for somebody better. I say I'm preparing for something better. If your miracle is the house, stop preparing. Get rid of some of that stuff that you ain't taking to your new house. And when they ask you why, you said, no, I ain't taking that. Come on, y'all. He says, I want you to praise, and then I want you to prepare. That's just the production. Let me lead the production. And I got to take you to, he says, number one, the text not only says God will give you production if you pray and you prepare. He said, secondly, to Israel, to the church, and to us, he says, I will pay no attention to your past. God's getting ready to free somebody. Your past is what you did. If it's in the past, it ain't what you're doing. And I need somebody in here, God has forgiven you, but you having a hard time forgiving yourself. Look at the text. Verse 3. For thou shalt break forth on the right, verse 4. Fear not. In other words, don't be scared. For thou shalt not be ashamed. Why? Because you were ashamed. And some of the stuff that we did were shameful. Okay, see, y'all in the back won't trip like y'all never did anything that you look back over your life and say, I hate I did that. But for those of us that will be real, everybody in here over the age of 25 can look back over your life and thank God that what you did, God keep it a secret. Boy, I need more than that clapping hands in here, because if God exposed everything that we have done to the world, we wouldn't even come to church. But thank God that he covers our mess. And you got the nerve to sit up here like you don't have any mess. You got nerve to sit up in here like you always been saved, like you always been sanctified, like you always been. The devil is a liar. Everybody in here been there and did that. There were some things I've done in my life. Oh, Lord, I hope and pray Mount Vernon never finds out about it. Done some stuff that I'm just not proud of. Can I get a witness in the house? That's why you ought to be more patient with God when God exposes your neighbor. That's why you ought to be more patient. Instead of criticizing them, you ought to say, but for the grace of God, it really could have been you, and it really could have been me. He says, you were ashamed. He said, don't be ashamed no more. You did it. Own up to it. I've forgiven you. Forgive yourself. Talk to me, somebody. He said, notice what he said. He said, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth. You forget some of that foolishness. Now, it's different between a young fool and an old fool. We can deal with young fools, but I mean, now once you get gray in your hair and wrinkle in your face, there'll just be some things that you've outgrown when you get old. He said, thou shalt not remember, I'm in verse 4, remember the reproach of the widowhood anymore. He's really talking about when Israel went into Egypt, it seemed like he was forsaking them, but he wasn't forsaking them. Israel really was what they call committing spiritual adultery. You see that in Jeremiah 3:20. He says, I'm going to blot it out, all your iniquity, and check this out, to remember them no more. God gets amnesia. And what God telling me to tell somebody today is that just like he gets amnesia, you need to get amnesia. I ain't got time to tell y'all a story about the dead duck, but next time somebody bring up your past, you tell them that's a dead duck. Pastor, what do you mean a dead duck? I guess I will tell you. There were two boys. One was playing with a slingshot, and he killed his mama's duck. And that was the mama's favorite duck. And his other brother saw him kill that duck. And his brother started blackmailing him. Brother said, go wash dishes. And the boy said, ain't my time to wash dishes, it's your time. He said, I'm going to tell mama, you killed her duck. I said, well, wash dishes. He said, go make me bed. If anybody making your bed, he said, I'm going to tell mama. The boy said, when he made the bed up. And then he made him he said, go out there and cut that grass. He said, it's your day to cut the grass. He said, I'm going to tell mama you killed the duck. The boy said, he went out and cut the grass. So finally the boy got tired of this foolishness. He said, I'm going to tell mama myself. So he goes to his mama. He said, mama, I got some bad news for you. I'm the one that killed your duck. Mama said, boy, I knew a long time ago you killed a duck. She said, I was in the upper room looking down when you took the slingshot in your hand, put the rock in, and accidentally killed the duck. He said, well, why didn't you tell me before? He says, I just wanted to know how long you were going to let your brother pull your string and hold some over you. He said, the next time your brother brings some up, I want you to tell your brother it's a dead duck. Mama say it's a dead duck. And what am I saying? The next time somebody got to try to go down in the sea of forgiveness and bring your sin up, talking about what you used to do, what I want you to tell me, baby, it's a dead duck. My daddy saw it. My daddy knows it. And my daddy told me to tell you what? It's a dead. Verse 5, for thy maker is thine husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. And thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of whom the earth shall call. For the Lord called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth when thou was refused, saith the Lord. Check out verse 7. For a small moment, everybody say small moment. Have I forsaken thee, meaning the 70 years they were in Babylon. Check this out. But with great mercies, I'm going to come back and get you. He says, why? Because I am your hubby. And as a husband, I know how to treat you. Yes, I was angry with you. Yes, I let you go to Babylon, but that didn't mean I didn't love you. He says, I'm going to redeem you. The word redeem there means to buy. It means to buy back. And verse 9, and this is the waters of Noah. I'm trying to get through with this. Unto me. And this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For I have sworn that waters of Noah should no more go over the earth. In other words, I told the world I'm not going to destroy the world no more by water. But don't get excited. It will be fire. So I have sworn unto you my anger with thee. Nor I will not be angry with thee nor rebuke thee. Verse 10, for the mountain shall depart and the hills removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee. God wants to show you kindness. Forget your past. God has forgotten your past. Every day gives you a new opportunity to get it right. I'm trying to help y'all practically. Every day is a good day to say, Lord, I'm going to finally get it right. And guess what? You're going to blow it. Because all of us blow it. But when you fall, you get back up. Did y'all hear what? When you fall, you get back up. When you fall, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed. Okay, so that third point, peace. I tell you what, it's getting late. I'll pick up that next week. How about that? Y'all give God a hand clap of praise. I tell you what, I'll just pick up there. I'll just do these. Come on, give God a better praise than that. I'll